The Meridian Point colony sparkled like a jewel against the violet sky of Kepler 186f, its gleaming towers and verdant biodomes a testament to humanity's resilience. For 15 years, the settlement had flourished on this distant world, transforming harsh alien terrain into a thriving community of 50,000 souls. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the colony's central hub, her dark eyes reflecting the light of the system's red dwarf star as it dipped below the horizon. Another beautiful sunset, wouldn't you say, Commander? Dr. Marcus Rivera approached, his weathered face creased with a smile. As the colony's chief xenobiologist, he'd been instrumental in adapting Earth crops to the planet's unique soil composition. Sarah nodded, but her attention was fixed on the atmospheric readings scrolling across her neural display. Something felt off. The upper ionosphere showed unusual disturbances, patterns she'd never seen before in her 5 years as head of colony security. Marcus, are you picking up any unusual electromagnetic activity in your research stations? She asked, trying to keep her voice casual. Before he could answer, the emergency klaxons began to wail. Multiple objects dropping out of FTL. Lieutenant Park's voice crackled through the colony-wide comm. Massive energy signatures. These aren't registered merchant vessels. Sarah was already moving, her boots clicking against the polished floor as she sprinted toward the command center. Sound general quarters. Get everyone to the shelter levels. The first strikes hit before she reached her destination. Brilliant purple beams sliced through the colony's outer shields like they were tissue paper, vaporizing the agricultural dome in Sector 7. The screams began moments later. Through the chaos, Sarah managed to reach the hardened bunker that served as Meridian Point's command center. The holographic displays showed a nightmare scenario. 12 massive vessels of unknown design, their hulls covered in what looked like crystalline growths, had surrounded the colony. Status report. She barked, taking her position at the central console. Shields at 23% and falling. Lieutenant Park responded, his fingers flying over the controls. We've lost contact with the outer sectors. Emergency pods are launching, but they're being targeted. Design configuration matches nothing in our database. Sarah grabbed the comm unit. This is Commander Chen to unknown vessels. We are a civilian colony. Stand down immediately or... A harsh, clicking voice interrupted her transmission. We are the Kraxan Empire. Your existence in this sector is unauthorized. Your resources are now forfeit. Resistance will result in total elimination. Unauthorized. Sarah's voice dripped with disbelief. We've been here for 15 years. This colony is registered with the Galactic Assembly. The Assembly's authority is not recognized. You have 10 minutes to surrender control of your facilities. Sarah looked around the command center at her team. Humans who had built their lives here, who had children in the schools below. The Kraxan had to know this was a civilian target. This wasn't just an attack. It was a message. Launch the Quantum Buoy, she ordered. Make sure Earth knows what's happening here. And get me a direct line to the defense grid. Commander, Park hesitated. The defense grid isn't rated for ships of this size. No, Sarah agreed, her jaw set in grim determination. But we're not going to make this easy for them. Begin evacuation sequence Delta. Get as many people to the underground shelters as possible. And Park, make sure the buoy carries everything. Sensor data, ship configurations, weapon signatures. Earth needs to know exactly what they're dealing with. As her team rushed to comply, Sarah watched the alien ships move into attack formation. Humanity had encountered hostile species before, but this was different. The Kraxan hadn't come to negotiate or intimidate. They'd come to take, and in doing so, they'd made a crucial mistake. They'd attacked our home. The next 8 minutes were a symphony of chaos and courage. The colony's defensive batteries, though hopelessly outmatched, fired continuously, their weapons specifically targeted at the Kraxan ship's sensor arrays. Every second they could buy meant more civilians reaching the reinforced bunkers beneath the surface. Sarah coordinated it all from the command center, redirecting power, managing evacuation routes, and gathering critical intelligence, even as the colony crumbled around them. The Kraxan were methodical in their destruction, systematically dismantling Meridian Point's infrastructure while jamming all attempts at faster-than-light communication. But they didn't find the quantum buoy, carefully hidden among the debris of the first destroyed sector. As the last civilians made it to the shelters, the buoy slipped away, carrying with it the truth of what happened at Meridian Point. The Kraxan ships landed as the 10-minute deadline expired, disgorging troops in crystalline armor. They found empty streets and sealed bunkers, and a command center transmitting a single message on all frequencies. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of Meridian Point Colony. You came without warning. You attacked without provocation. You struck at civilians, at children. Remember this moment. Remember what you did here. Because Earth will come for its people, and you will learn what it means to earn humanity's fury." The message cut off as the command center's fusion core went critical, taking 3 Kraxan landing parties with it in a final act of defiance. The quantum buoy reached Earth 3 days later, and in the halls of power on humanity's homeworld, as the footage of Meridian Point's fall played before grim-faced military leaders and politicians, the wheels of retribution began to turn. The Kraxan Empire had made their statement. Humanity's response would shake the galaxy. The galactic assembly chambers on Nexus Station hummed with tension. Hundreds of species were represented in the vast amphitheater, their forms as varied as the stars themselves. But today, all eyes focused on the human representative, Admiral Helena Voss, as she stood before the Assembly's Core Council. The holographic display behind her showed the ruins of Meridian Point in stark detail. Crystalline ships loomed over shattered biodomes, while sensors recorded atmospheric contamination from weapons never before seen in human space. 3,427 civilians dead, Voss stated, her silver hair gleaming under the chamber's lights. A registered colony, operating under assembly guidelines for 15 years, destroyed without provocation or warning. A Zentari representative, their bioluminescent tendrils pulsing with agitation, spoke first. "The Kraxan Empire operates outside assembly jurisdiction. We sympathize with your losses, but intervention would risk." Sympathize. Voss's quiet interruption carried more weight than a shout. "Let me be clear. We're not here seeking permission to defend ourselves. We're here to give you a chance to stand with us, to show that the Assembly's laws mean something." In the shadows of the chamber's upper tier, Kraxan observer Vex Troll watched with calculated interest. His crystalline exoskeleton refracted the light, creating tiny rainbows that danced across his data console. The humans were reacting exactly as predicted, emotional, righteous, desperate for justice. But beneath the assembly chamber, in secure meeting rooms and encrypted channels, another game was being played. Admiral Voss's public appeal masked the largest military mobilization in human history. Operation Starfall was already in motion. At the Sol Systems Titan Naval Yard, Fleet Captain James Chen, Sarah Chen's brother, supervised the final modifications to the stealth frigate HS Nemesis. The ship's quantum arrays had been reconfigured based on the sensor data from Meridian Point, designed to pierce Kraxan jamming technology. "The outer hull's absorption coating is complete, sir," Lieutenant Raman reported, her holographic avatar floating beside him. "The new metamaterial should make us practically invisible to their crystalline sensors." James nodded, his sister's final message playing in his mind for the 100th time. "How many ships are ready?" 17 frigates upgraded, sir. Carriers Hyperion and Orion are at 89% completion. The new drone swarms are online but untested against Kraxan defenses. Back in the assembly chamber, the debate continued. The Kraxan observer had finally taken the floor, his translator converting his crystalline resonances into standard speech. "The humans expanded beyond their assigned sectors," Vex Troll declared. The Empire's response, while regrettable, was merely enforcement of established boundaries. Admiral Voss's laugh caught everyone off guard. Established boundaries. The Kraxen hadn't claimed that sector in 300 years. But let's be honest, this isn't about boundaries. This is about fear. She stepped forward, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. You fear us because we're different. We don't live for millennia like the Zentari. We don't have the psychic abilities of the Nexari. We can't naturally survive in space like the Void Dancers. But we adapt. We innovate. We survive. And now, she continued, her eyes locked on Vextrol, you've given us something else, something that makes humans particularly dangerous. She paused, letting the silence build. A reason. The assembly erupted in overlapping arguments, but Voss was already leaving the chamber. Her part in this theater was done. As she walked to her shuttle, her neural implant received the coded confirmation she'd been waiting for. STARFALL is go. In the outer rim, the HSS Nemesis and its sister ships slipped away from their berths, their modified hulls absorbing light and energy. The carriers Hyperion and Orion, hidden in the Oort cloud, launched swarms of autonomous drones, each carrying a fraction of a much larger plan. The Kraxen Empire had overwhelming force and superior technology, but they were about to learn what humanity's intelligence reports had already confirmed. Their empire was vast but spread thin. Their supply lines were vulnerable. Their automated defense systems followed predictable patterns. And most importantly, they'd never faced an enemy who could turn their own crystalline technology against them. The price of silence would be paid in full, not with speeches in the assembly, but with a campaign of shadows and innovation that would make the galaxy remember. When you attack humanity's home, you don't face an army. You face our species' full potential for creative destruction. In his quarters aboard the Nemesis, James Chen touched the memorial holo showing Meridian Point in its glory days. Sarah stood proud in front of the main dome, smiling at the camera. "We're coming, sis," he whispered. "And we're bringing hell with us." The first strike would begin in 12 hours. The Kraxen Empire wouldn't know what hit them until it was far too late. The HSS Nemesis hung silent in the void, its modified hull absorbing all electromagnetic radiation. Through the ship's quantum-linked displays, Captain James Chen watched the Kraxen supply convoy emerge from FTL, their crystalline ships glittering like deadly jewels against the backdrop of space. 6 cargo vessels, 2 escorts, Lieutenant Raman whispered, though there was no need for stealth in the vacuum of space. Old habits died hard. Their shields are configured exactly as the simulations predicted. James nodded, his fingers dancing across the neural interface. Across 50 light-years, 17 other stealth frigates waited for his signal. The entire operation hinged on precise timing and humanity's newest weapon, the crystalline resonance disruptor. "Launch the drones," he ordered. "Begin Phase 1. From the Nemesis and her sister ships, thousands of microscopic drones emerge, their surfaces coated with the same light-absorbing material as their motherships. Each drone carried a fraction of the crystalline resonance pattern decoded from Meridian Point's final sensor logs. The Kraxen, masters of crystalline technology, had never considered that their greatest strength could become their ultimate vulnerability. Their ships, their weapons, even their communications, all relied on precisely tuned crystalline matrices. The first drone swarm reached the convoy's outer sensor perimeter. Instead of avoiding detection, they'd wanted to be seen, but only as simple space debris, the kind common in well-traveled shipping lanes. "Convoy is maintaining course," Raman reported. "Their automated defense systems are registering the drones as background particles." James allowed himself a small smile. "Begin Phase 2. The drones activated their resonance patterns, each emitting a specific frequency. Alone, each drone was harmless. Together, they created a cascading harmonic that began to interact with the Kraxen ship's crystalline structures. On the convoy's lead escort, Crystal began to sing. The effect was subtle at first, microscopic vibrations in non-essential systems. But like a virus, the harmonic spread through the crystalline networks that were the backbone of Kraxen technology. "Sir," Raman's voice held a note of awe. It's working. Their shield matrices are destabilizing. All ships, execute Phase 3, James commanded. The Nemesis and her battle group shed their stealth coverings like ghosts becoming corporeal. Their weapons were conventional. Railguns, plasma torpedoes, nuclear-pumped X-ray lasers, but they struck ships whose defensive systems were now compromised by their own fundamental architecture. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted less than 6 minutes. When it was over, the cargo vessels hung dead in space, their crystalline cores reduced to inert mineral formations. The escort ships, their weapon systems frantically trying to target the human vessels, found their targeting crystals shattering under the resonance assault. "Boarding teams, you have a go," James announced. "Remember, we need their navigation data intact." As assault shuttles launched toward the disabled ships, James received a priority transmission from Fleet Command. Admiral Voss's hologram appeared in his ready room. "The Kraxen have responded exactly as predicted," she reported. "They're pulling ships from their frontier bases to protect their supply lines. How soon can you begin Phase 4? James checked the mission clock. "The resonance weapon exceeded our best projections. We can launch the next wave within 6 hours." "Good." Voss's expression hardened. "Because we just intercepted transmissions from 3 more colony worlds. The Kraxen are planning simultaneous strikes, trying to force us to divide our forces. They still think this is about territory," James said, shaking his head. "They don't understand what they started." "No," Voss agreed. "They don't. Humanity didn't spread to the stars because we wanted to build an empire. We did it because exploration, adaptation, and survival are written into our DNA. Each colony is a testament to our ingenuity, our determination to thrive wherever we go." James thought of Sarah, of Meridian Point, of all the lives lost because the Kraxen saw human expansion as a threat rather than the miracle it was. "Launch the next phase as soon as you're ready," Voss continued. "The Kraxen thought they could break our spirit by destroying one colony. Instead, they united humanity like nothing else in our history. Show them the price of that mistake." As the Admiral's hologram faded, James reviewed the data from the captured ships. Each Kraxen vessel carried detailed maps of their empire's supply network, a network that was about to become their greatest weakness. Operation Thunderclap had begun with a whisper of crystalline resonance. It would end with the roar of an empire discovering that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't our technology or our ships. It was our ability to turn any obstacle, any attack, any attempt to destroy us, into an opportunity to become stronger. The next wave of stealth frigates was already moving into position. The Kraxen were about to learn why dozens of species had learned to respect humanity's space, not because of our weapons, but because of our relentless creativity in the face of extinction. "All ships, prepare for FTL jump," James ordered. "Let's show them what happens when you attack our homes." The stars blurred as the battle group leaped toward their next target, carrying with them humanity's answer to imperial aggression. Innovation born of necessity, unity forged in crisis, and a determination that would reshape the galaxy. The Kraxen homeworld of Christos shimmered like a diamond in the void, its crystalline cities catching and refracting the light of 3 suns. But today, the pristine beauty was marred by the chaos of war. Emergency alerts pulsed through the crystalline matrices that connected their civilization, carrying dire warnings. The humans had broken through. High Commander Vextrol stood in his command spire, watching tactical displays show the systematic collapse of his empire's defenses. In 3 weeks, the humans had destroyed or disabled 60% of the Kraxen's supply fleet. Now they had achieved what he had deemed impossible. They had penetrated the homeworld's defensive grid. "How?" he demanded, his crystalline form vibrating with rage. "How did they adapt so quickly?" His science director, Zixera, projected a holographic analysis. "They didn't just copy our technology. They understood it. Every attack taught them more about our crystalline systems. They turned our greatest strength into a weapon against us." Above Crystallos, the battle unfolded like a deadly dance. The human fleet, led by the now infamous SS Nemesis, had appeared from seemingly nowhere. Their ships moved in patterns that defied traditional combat logic, each vessel acting independently yet part of a greater whole. Aboard the Nemesis, Captain James Chen watched as Operation Thunderclap reached its crescendo. All ships, execute Pattern Omega. Deploy the resonance spheres. The human fleet scattered in what appeared to be chaos, but was actually precise coordination. From their holds, they released thousands of crystalline spheres, constructed from the very same material as Kraxan technology, but modified by human ingenuity. "Sir," Lieutenant Raman reported, "the spheres are achieving quantum synchronization with Crystallos' defense grid." James nodded grimly. "Begin the broadcast." The spheres activated simultaneously, each emitting a specific frequency that harmonized with the planet's crystalline infrastructure. But instead of destroying it, they began to override it. Through the quantum-entangled network, a message began to play in every Kraxan facility. The transmission showed the fall of Meridian Point, but not just the destruction. It showed the colony's 15 years of peaceful existence. Children playing in the biodomes, scientists making breakthroughs in xenobiology, humans and alien visitors trading, learning, growing together. "You thought you knew us." Admiral Voss's voice accompanied the images. "You saw our expansion as a threat, our adaptability as a danger. You never understood that humanity's greatest strength isn't our ability to fight. It's our ability to connect, to learn, to grow." On Crystallos' surface, Kraxan citizens watched in stunned silence as the truth of their empire's aggression was laid bare. The images shifted to show the aftermath of the attack, but also humanity's response, not just the military campaign, but the way colony worlds had taken in Meridian Point survivors, how human scientists had worked tirelessly to understand and counter Kraxan technology. "We don't want your empire," Voss continued. "We don't want revenge. What we want is what we've always wanted, to explore, to build, to coexist. But you need to understand this. We will never allow what happened at Meridian Point to happen again." In his command spire, Vextrol received reports of crystalline resonance weapons locked onto every major military installation on Crystallos. The humans had the power to shatter his civilization's infrastructure with a single command. Instead, they waited. James Chen's voice replaced Admiral Voss's. "This is your choice, High Commander. We can end this war now, with words instead of weapons, or we can show you exactly what humanity does when pushed to its absolute limit. Either way, the galaxy will remember this day." The silence that followed seemed to stretch for eternity. In that moment, both species stood on the precipice of change. The humans had proven they could be devastating enemies, but they were offering the chance to become something else. Finally, Vextrol spoke, his voice carrying to every ship in orbit. Perhaps we have miscalculated. The Kraxan Empire requests a cessation of hostilities." The word hung in space like crystals catching light. It wasn't surrender, but it was acknowledgement. Recognition that humanity had earned its place among the stars not through conquest, but through the very qualities the Kraxan had feared. Our adaptability, our creativity, our unrelenting determination to survive and thrive. As the human fleet maintained their positions, James Chen thought of Sarah and Meridian Point. This victory wouldn't bring them back, but it would ensure their sacrifice led to something greater than revenge. It led to understanding. The galaxy was changing. The species that had dismissed humanity as primitive would now watch closely, wondering what other miracles these persistent, innovative beings would achieve next. The war was ending. The real challenge, building a lasting peace between such different species, was about to begin. 5 years after the Battle of Crystallos, the rebuilt Meridian Point colony stood as a symbol of something unprecedented in the galaxy. True cooperation between humans and Kraxan. The new biodomes incorporated crystalline technology, their structures gleaming with an iridescent beauty that merged human engineering with Kraxan artistry. Commander Sarah Chen's memorial stood at the colony's heart, but it was unlike any traditional monument. A garden of crystal flowers grew there, each one containing the memory of a fallen colonist, preserved through Kraxan crystal data technology. The flowers sang softly in harmonic resonance when visitors approached, telling stories of lives lived and sacrifices made. James Chen walked through this garden with High Commander Vextrol, both of them changed by the years since the war. James now served as Earth's ambassador to the Kraxan, while Vextrol had led his people through a dramatic cultural transformation. "Your sister would find this ironic," Vextrol observed, his crystalline form refracting the sunset. "Our attempt to destroy her colony led to the greatest advancement in both our civilization's histories." James touched one of the crystal flowers, watching as it displayed a hologram of Sarah teaching xenobiology to a group of children. "She always said that understanding was more powerful than fear. I think she'd be proud to see this." Above them, ships from both species moved through the lanes of a joint space station. Human ingenuity and Kraxan crystalline technology had combined to create vessels that could navigate quantum space in ways neither species had achieved alone. Trade flourished, and with it came cultural exchange that enriched both civilizations. In the Galactic Assembly, the Human-Kraxan alliance had shifted the balance of power. Other species that had once dismissed humanity now sought partnerships, recognizing that human adaptability combined with their own unique strengths could lead to unprecedented achievements. The latest survey teams have identified 3 new potential colony sites, James said, consulting his neural interface, which now incorporated crystalline processors. Joint settlements, like this one. Vextrol's form shimmed in what James had learned was amusement, and the assembly representatives who once warned against human expansion now compete for the chance to participate in these ventures. They finally understand what we learned the hard way. Humanity's growth isn't a threat to the galaxy's stability. It's catalyzing an era of innovation. They reached the observation deck, where Dr. Marcus Rivera, one of the few original colonists who had survived, was working with a team of human and Kraxan scientists. The laboratory's displays showed the results of their latest project, a way to terraform hostile environments, using a combination of human biological engineering and Kraxan crystal matrix technology. "The memorial garden is beautiful," Marcus said as they approached, "but I think this is Sarah's real legacy. We're not just rebuilding what was lost. We're creating something entirely new." James watched as human and Kraxan researchers worked seamlessly together, their different approaches to science complementing each other in ways that would have seemed impossible 6 years ago. The tragedy of Meridian Point had forced both species to confront their assumptions and fears about each other. In orbit, the HSS Nemesis, now converted into a deep space exploration vessel, prepared for another mission. Its crew was mixed, human and Kraxan working together to push the boundaries of known space. The ship's crystalline resonance drive, a technology born from warfare, now served to connect rather than destroy. "There will always be those who fear change," Vextrol said, watching the ship's preparations, "who see expansion and growth as threats rather than opportunities. But perhaps our story will teach them a different way." James nodded, thinking of all the lives lost and changed by the conflict. Sarah used to say that humanity's greatest strength wasn't our technology or our weapons. It was our ability to turn enemies into friends, to find common ground in the most unlikely places. As the sun set over Meridian Point, casting rainbow refractions through the crystalline structures, both leaders could see the truth in those words. The colony that had nearly become a catalyst for prolonged war had instead become a beacon of cooperation, a testament to both species' ability to grow beyond their fears and prejudices. The crystal flowers in the memorial garden sang their harmonious songs into the evening air, their melodies carrying stories not just of loss, but of rebirth, of understanding gained, and of a future that neither species could have achieved alone. Humanity had proven its place among the stars not through force of arms, but through the very qualities that made us human: our resilience, our creativity, and most importantly, our capacity to forge connections even in the aftermath of conflict. A new dawn had truly risen over the galaxy, and its light shone through crystals born of human dreams and alien wisdom, illuminating a path forward for all species brave enough to walk it together.